known by its map designation as Area 51.
We're now learning Area 51,
known as Area 51.
Thank you for
Near
clearing that
Area
up.
51.
Thank you.
Known as Area 51.
Because Area 51 is very important.
They called him Jimmy, and everybody wanted to be his friend.
What's good? What's good? Welcome here to Area 51 here with Jimmy, your host here at GoldenAirBoxing.com. You're watching Area 51. And in Area 51, one of the things that I do here, I speak boxing. And for those who are new, welcome to my channel. For those who want to learn more about boxing, this is the channel to be. And you can also visit GoldenAirBoxing.com, where we have great info when it comes down to fights. We got news, we got history, we got everything that you need, everything for you in GoldenAirBoxing.com. So go check it out and give us a like. So welcome to the channel. And today I want to talk about a little bit about the possibilities, or how could Caleb Plant actually beat David Benavidez. Now, first of all, I still believe that David Benavidez is going to win this fight. I believe that David Benavidez is just too powerful for Caleb Plant. I think that once he starts really pressing the action in the later rounds, I think David Benavidez is eventually just going to crush him. And I think that it will be, for what I've seen, competitive in the first 3 to 4 rounds, where Caleb Plant is going to look good, but then David Benavidez is going to put that pressure, and it's going to be very similar to the type of pressure that a fighter like Errol Spence puts in his opponents, and is just crushing him down, especially when he starts throwing shots to the body. Okay, so that's what I'm expecting in this fight. I'm expecting it to be competitive at first, the first few rounds, but then, you know, David Benavidez is going to start using the jab. He's going to close the range, and then with his long leg arms, is going to start beating the shit out of Caleb Plant. And I think this is probably going to end up in a TKO. I highly doubt that this will end up in a decision. Highly doubt it. So now that I said that, the question is, how could Caleb Plant win this fight, right? So I just think that in order for Caleb Plant to beat this fight, he's going to have to do a lot more than throwing the jab. He's going to have to do a lot more than he did with Canelo Alvarez. It's okay if you use the jab, but he's going to have to throw that second hand immediately after he throws the first jab, because David Benavidez is not going to respect his power. Okay, David Benavidez, as I said before, is a big dude. I said in the other video, you know, just watch the other video. So he's not going to necessarily hurt David Benavidez. And even though some people say, well, he's been put down before, yeah, that was a few years ago. But, you know, everybody can get caught by a shot like that. Even Caleb Plant himself is being put down by a fighter that came from 154, and that was Canelo Alvarez. Caleb Plant is a natural 168, and he was put down by a fighter who came from 154. So there's not much to be said about that. Ronald Gabriel was a 168 fighter. Okay, so there's a little bit of power difference. Now, as we saw with the fight with Tony Harrison against Tim Tszyu, the reason why Tony Harrison started to allow Tszyu to come on in and just start throwing his combinations is because he wasn't moving enough. And in this fight, Caleb Plant has to move a lot. He's going to be the mongoose, and David Benavidez is going to be the cobra in this fight. That's what's going to happen. For Caleb Plant to stay alive in this fight, he needs to constantly be moving to his left or to his right, but he needs to switch angles and wait to throw that second hand when he sees an opening. Right now, here's the problem. David is a taller guy than Caleb Plant, and Caleb Plant, that makes it more difficult for him to find the range to hit his face. So Caleb Plant is going to have to focus and try to hit the body. The problem is that if he stays too long hitting the body, then David Benavidez has really good uppercuts like Fundora does, and he can actually throw those from small spaces. Okay, he can just throw it from small spaces like Fundora does, and that makes it problematic. So if Caleb Plant needs to hit, he can't stay there for too long, and then when he hits the body, he either has to tie him up, or when he hits the jab or hits the second hand, he's going to have to tie up David Benavidez. And he's going to have to do that a lot. In fact, he's going to have to do something similar of what Andre Ward did when he fought Sergey Kovalev, the first fight. You got to tie him up. If he doesn't tie up David, then David eventually is going to catch up and he's going to hurt him. So Caleb Plant is going to have a very disciplined mode of action the entire fight. Because one thing I noticed about Caleb Plant is that in the later rounds, he tends to fatigue a little bit. I feel like he's fatiguing a little bit, and that's not going to help him in this fight. I can tell you that right now. He can't be fatigued. He's going to have to be, in his P's and Q's, because one mistake could be dangerous for him. Now, a lot of people say, well, if he throws a spear jab, right, jumping with a spear jab and hits David Benavidez, that's going to be enough to take David Benavidez out of position. I'm telling you right now, that's not going to be enough to take David Benavidez out of position. And David Benavidez has a decent defense. It's not the best defense, but he has a defense that is similar to that of Errol Spence to some extent. The way that he puts his hands up, you don't always catch him. So Caleb Plant is going to have to focus more of his energy in his body and not too much in his face. But he's going to have to watch out for those counters. Now, there is a possibility that Caleb Plant could win this fight. I don't believe it'll happen. But a lot of people, saying it's 50-50. It's just because they like Caleb Plant and they don't want David Benavidez to win. I don't think it's a 50-50 fight at all. But Caleb Plant is going to have to not just throw body shots, but he's going to have to throw uppercuts to the body. And that's a technique that is not really used too much in this day and age. But that's the same technique that Andre Ward used against Sergey Kovalev in the second fight when he was throwing uppercuts into Kovalev's body and his gut. And that little by little started to slow down Kovalev. If he does that, he's going to have to shell inside. He's going to get caught. But if he throws the shit hard enough, he can make David fatigue if he hits him in his gut. But that's an old school fighting style. I think that Andre Ward was capable of doing that. Andre Ward was an old school fighter. I just don't think that Caleb Plant has that sort of technical or IQ ability, to be honest. So if Caleb Plant wins this fight, right now he's saying that he's getting stronger and he's going to be surprise David. I'm telling you right now, he's not going to surprise David with his strength. David already has experience, and he's done it since he's a kid against guys who were much bigger than he was, okay? He was a chubby kid fighting against guys that, they were much bigger than him at that time, and actually who had a lot more experience. So he's not going to be intimidated by Caleb Plant. And I think he's going to laugh it off. But he will have a hard time if Caleb Plant moves and hits. Now, one thing I don't really know is if Caleb Plant has the technical ability to really move his feet like other boxers. Like a Terence Crawford, like a Andrade. I don't think he has that, to be honest. I think he doesn't have feather feet. And you need feather feet for a fighter like Benavidez. And another thing that Caleb Plant has to watch out for is not to use his defense and stay in certain spots of the ring where he can get countered because when David starts to throw his flurries and combinations, Caleb Plant is going to have to not get out of there. So the best thing is to get out of that. Don't even use your defense to try to slide hit punches, because David has fast hands, and on top he's looking at you down as he's throwing the shots, because he's a much taller fighter, so he has a better range to look at the fighter as he's moving, and that creates a problem. So Caleb Plant's defense is okay, but in my opinion, he's gonna have to really not stay there too long, because eventually when you start moving your head a lot and you facing a fighter with power and fast hands, it's going to catch up with you real quick. So that's the way that I would see Caleb Plant beat Benavidez. He's going to really have to go for the body and pretty much hope that David Benavidez starts to slow down. A lot of people also telling me that, David is going to lose because he's not calm. He's very nervous. Listen, David is confident. You see, people want to hate on David because he feels confident in the fight. He's saying, I want to beat his ass. Just the same way that Mikey Garcia said he was going to do against Robert Eastern Jr. I'm going to pass through him, right? Nobody was saying that about Mikey Garcia, right? But suddenly, people are saying this about this kid, David Benavidez. When Terence Crawford was going to fight Sean Porter, he said he was going to beat him. He's, no problem. There's confidence. See, that's confidence. And you can be angry, you don't like somebody. It doesn't mean he's going to lose the fight because he doesn't like him. It just means he wants to beat his ass. And I think David means what he means. And I think once David beats Caleb Plant, I think that signal, what I'm trying to say is that Canelo Alvarez is going to have diarrhea because he knows he's next. And he's not beating David Benavidez either. So those are a few things that I have to see from Plant in order for me to see and say, okay, you have a chance. But I don't think Plant is going to have a perfect fight. I think at one point, like I said, the pressure will catch up with him. And then it's just going to be, it's going to be David. So anyway, that's a video. That's how I see it. And, give us a like here, subscribe. And also check our webpage, goldenairboxing.com, for information, stories, news. We got everything there. So give us a like, subscribe, and Hagone, like the native 7 New Mexico. And also, Deuces Cruces. We will check you in the next video. See ya.